This tutorial is about 3D map editing, and we'll learn about tools included in Pixplan to edit 3D maps. Because of the screen recording software, the 3D rendering you'll be seeing is not very smooth. If you run Pixplan on its own, you'll find it much more fluid. We'll be using a seamless texture which was previously tiled by Pixplan from an original brick photo from benclower.com. And so we'll start by loading a texture, a previously tiled texture. It's a brick wall, and from here we'll extract the 3D maps by clicking the Send to 3D Maps button. And of course we could otherwise load individual 3D maps, displacement, normal, etc. But we'll just extract from this brick wall texture. Okay, and the first extract window to appear is the displacement from texture window. You can see that the surface is inverted. The mortar between the bricks is higher than the brick relief. So we just click the invert surface button, and you can see that it now makes more sense. And we can tune the surface scale, so we can select if we want more or less high level detail, finer detail. This is perhaps a bit too much, and this is not bad. Let's add a little bit of fine detail also. You can see if we zoom in that this slider adds. Okay, so let's just add a little bit. Okay, so let's continue now. And the next one is the specular extraction window. About the metallicness, of course bricks and mortar don't have metallic reflections, and so let's just use non-metallic. We could also use unsaturated. We'll see later on more about this. And now about the shininess. Of course, bricks are not very shiny. Perhaps we should leave it at medium. Matte probably would be better. We'll see this one later on. Okay, and now it's the ambient occlusion rendering from displacement. So this is rendering an ambient occlusion map from the displacement that we've just extracted. Okay, so I guess we'll probably deal with this one later, and let's just leave it as it is. Okay, very well. So this is the 3D maps part of Pixplan, and you can see that there are two main sections. This one at the left is the 3D preview area, and this one at the right is the place where the editors are located. And these editors, of course, we'll later see about them, but you can recognize from this tab the common suspects, so to speak, like displacement, normal, specular. And so let's see the 3D preview area. Well, you can manipulate the model here. You can rotate it, you can change the light, and you can of course pan it. You can pan it around, and of course zoom in and zoom out. And you can enable or disable the rendering of maps. For instance, let's remove ambient occlusion, which by the way is a bit too heavy, as you can see. So let's deal with it later on and remove it now. It's no longer being rendered. Or we could remove diffuse, the diffuse map. You can see here the specular map being rendered, the reflections being rendered. Anyway, later on we'll see more about this. And another setting you have in the 3D preview area is the quality. And of course this is the usual trade-off between higher quality and slower rendering, or lower quality and faster rendering. So let's leave it at medium. The slider next to it is the model displacement scale. This controls how the vertices of the model are displaced. For instance, you can see that if I decrease it, the model gets thinner, and as I increase it again, you can see that features are more noticeable. Let's leave this one at the middle. Okay. And of course we could change the cylinder, the model. It's now in cylinder, but it can be many other models. Pixplant includes 4 built-in, but you can load your own model from wavefront.obj files. Okay, for what we're gonna do, it's better to use plane, the plane model. And okay, so let's now take a look at displacement, and let's see what we have here. So all the 3D editors in Pixplant include 2 types of tools: whole image tools, which will manipulate the entire image at once, or pixel level tools, which are pretty much as the tools you'll find in a graphics editor. So they are tools for local editing. They are pixel tools. In this case, some of the names are more related with editing a surface. So you'll see, for instance, sculpt or surface tools. But anyway, all tools are the tools in all editors are divided in all image tools. They're kind of like filtering tools, or pixel level tools, which are more like graphics editors, brushes or paint tools. Okay, so for instance, let's start by the all image tools, the surface tools in case of displacement, and so we can equalize the surface. For instance, I think I'll just turn specular off so that we can see without specular, so that it renders without specular, which makes it easier to understand the image features, the surface features in this case. And for instance, we could change the equalization level. We have 5 levels, from very fine to very large, and for instance I will decrease very fine, and you can see that the image is starting to get smoother and softer, and you can see this both also here, and well, a little less noticeable also here. To avoid having to mess with all the equalization sliders, and because the most common case is really to slide to decrease them like this or like that, we have the equalization presets slider, which basically controls the other level, all the levels, all the equalization levels. For instance, you can see how smooth, how soft the surface is like this. Anyway, let's just leave it at the middle to reset it, so there's no smoothing or sharpening being done. Another tool in the surface tools is the displacement range. It controls the minimum and maximum points in the surface. It scales the surface. For instance, you can see in the 3D preview that as I slide the value down, it gets more and more, it gets flatter. Okay, so the default is like this. This is perhaps a bit exaggerated for this surface. Let's decrease a bit the range, and okay. And now about the sculpt tools. So you can see that, for instance, we have some problems with the with extracted surface. For instance, we have this issue here, so let's correct it. We can see in the 3D model that it's here. You can see it's quite noticeable. So let's see if we can take care of this. And perhaps the best, we have some tools from push, pull, sculpt. We have tools for smoothing, to flatten the surface, to roughen the surface, but the most useful tool is most of the time clone, because you can pick up part of the texture from another place in the image and use it, and that's usually very useful in all editors. And for instance, here we'll start by diminishing the size of the brush, and you can do this with Shift and moving the cursor up or down. You can see that it changes the size of the brush and also the slider at here. And with the clone tool we can define a clone source by pressing Alt, the Alt key, or in OS X the Option key. And so we set the clone source to here, and then we paint. So as you can see, it's now fixed, it's no longer there. We could fix another one. There's another problem here. This texture was generated from a small image with a few image elements, so there are some repetitions. So it's here, and we could do the same, or well, we could do the same here also. You can see that it's fixing the problem, and there it is. Okay, so of course we have other tools, tools like push and pull. For instance, let's see the push tool. So I can come here and decrease the size, and you can see that it's painting on the surface. We now created a hole there. Or we could pull up the surface, for instance. You can see what's happening. Okay, and that's it. So let's undo this not very nice editing. And okay, so let's now see the normal editor. An important thing about the displacement and normal editors is that they are both editing a common surface, a common underlying surface. So any change you do in one of the editors will reflect in the other. As you can see, we also have some of the tools from displacement. Not all of them make sense for normals, and but for instance, clone is here, and smooth and roughen. Suppose, for instance, we'd like to get rid of this hole here, and you can see that it's here in the surface. So let's make it more visible, and so using the clone tool, we just pick up a suitable clone source and paint it. Okay, so it's now gone. And the same thing, for instance, the roughen tool. I'm not sure we're okay, so and this tool, you can use it to roughen the surface. You can see that it's making it a bit rougher, and we could smooth it. I'll increase the strength, and so you can see that it's now making it smoother, which has the problem, of course, of destroying some fine-grained texture. But we can just change to the clone tool, and restore, so to speak, a suitable texture. Okay, and you may have noticed that from the displacement editor and normal editor that they are synchronized. So what you see in one, you also see in the other, and this is happening because of the view sync checkbox at the bottom. So all views, if this is checked, all views where this setting is checked will update in sync. So if you change one, the others will also show the same view. This is quite useful because you can untab the editor windows, and you can have several of them displayed alongside, and this can be very useful, the view sync feature. Okay, so let's now take a look at the diffuse editor. Let's enable diffuse. So you can see sorry, at the right that we have also two kinds of tools: whole image tools and the paint tools. You can see here some familiar tools like paint or blur, flatten, sharpen, and we could, for instance, paint straight away, and you can see that it's painting in the surface, in the model. For the whole image tools, perhaps the most useful is the neutralize shading tool. I'll just use it to take off some of the shading in the image, and perhaps reducing the intensity now. And okay, it appears to have less shading now. Okay. Okay, so okay, now on to the specular, and let's enable specular rendering, or rendering of the specular map. You can see that this is pretty exaggerated for bricks and mortar. I mean, unless it would be a plastic surface, kind of, this is a bit too exaggerated. So we can you can see that if we decrease intensity, there's the specular component is going away, and okay, we also have here a metallicness area sorry, where for instance we can move the U around. In this case it's inverting. You can see that it gets a more metallic reflection. In this case a bit too exaggerated, but anyway, we can just leave it at what what it was, which was what we extracted from the initial texture. And okay, so perhaps we should decrease saturation, because even so it's a bit too much. And in any case, what we definitely need to do is change the intensity, because this is clearly still too reflective for bricks and mortar. So let's reduce the intensity, and perhaps a little bit of the contrast, because it's still quite reflective in the mortar. density also. Okay, so this starts to be more real. Perhaps a bit too much still. Okay, so I think it's now subtle enough to and suitable for the for bricks and mortar. Okay. Okay, so now on to ambient occlusion, and I will enable it. Okay, so this is really too heavy. Anyway, we made some changes to the displacement. Let's extract again. No need for saving. Okay, so what can we do to this? Let's try with different ray distances. Okay, so this is perhaps too much. A word about the planar bias. The idea is that as you increase this, planar surfaces will tend to have less occlusion. Sometimes planar surfaces, because they might not be completely planar, will get way too much ambient occlusion than they should, and this can be compensated with this slider. So perhaps we have that problem here, not much anyway, on the brick surfaces. Well, I think we can use this one. And okay, this is of course a bit too much still. Let's try to smooth it. Okay, so this is without, and this is with, still a bit too much. Let's make the map lighter. Okay, so without and with. Okay, I think it begins to be more reasonable. Okay. Okay, very well. So, and I think this is it. Let's change the model to see how it fits in a sphere. And okay. Okay. Very well. Just one final word. To avoid having to save all these maps, and if we would want later on to resume editing, load them back again one by one, Pixplant has projects. So we can create a project. So I'll just create a brick 25 project, and projects save automatically. So upon closing the project or opening another project, it will automatically save everything, all the linked maps, and this is very useful to deal with multiple maps. Okay, and so we've seen the tools included in Pixplant to edit 3D maps. Thanks for watching. For more information about Pixplant for Windows and Mac OS X, please visit pixplant.com.